Dear listener, thank you for joining us on the podcast that doesn't have a name yet, but hopefully will be by the time we publish this.
Hopefully.
I'm Tyler. I guess you guys introduce yourselves too.
I'm JC.
And I'm Adam.
Awesome. That was perfect. We're going to keep that.
Yes.
Okay. I guess for the first episode, just a format of what the heck this podcast is. We're a writing group. We thought it would be fun just to record ourselves doing our normal writing group thing and give it to you and see if you like it. I know when we were first starting out, we felt kind of new to what a writing group should be like. I feel like I'm talking to you guys, but I'm actually talking to the listener. We just thought it'd be something cool to show you what a writing group can look like. So as you're in your writing journey, this is definitely for writers, people who want to be parts of writing groups. Of course, we'll talk about different things with writing. We'll share our experiences. You'll hear little snippets of our stories. Maybe no major spoilers, but maybe minor spoilers. I'm not too concerned about sharing spoilers in my book. And yeah, here we are.
Welcome.
Welcome to
Anything
the
else, you guys?
podcast.
Yeah.
Should we maybe, I don't know. Should we just get into it, or should we talk about our books first? I don't know.
Well, just to give us I'd say just to give everybody who's listening a little bit of context, where we are in our writer career. I'm an indie author. I have 8 books out. I primarily write in the thriller genre, but I have a series that is involved with superheroes. Adam has dubbed it superhero procedural genre, which I like. And I do a mystery series that is set in a fantasy world. And that's the Telvana Mysteries. And then my other one is the Hero Unit series. Primarily what you'll be hearing is from the Hero Unit series, from critiques that I'm submitting for the group.
Yeah, and I'll include a link to your author page on Amazon and wherever that needs to go in the podcast.
Yeah.
And let the money roll in, JC.
And let the money roll. Adam, what about you?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm definitely the newbie of the group. So I lean towards fantasy. I think we're all kind of high concept here, kind of speculative, which is kind of neat. I thought I was pretty original until I got out from under my rock and realized that Brandon Sanderson existed. So started reading this one. I'm like, shoot, he beat me to everything. And did it 10 times as good. So that's unfortunate, but also fortunate because the guy's awesome. So I'm currently unpublished. I have plans to one day change that, maybe 25 years from now. Now, looking up to these guys as gurus of sorts, especially JC here. But what we do has been extremely beneficial to kind of build up my confidence so far. Every now and then you guys have to tear into me, but mostly good. How about you,
That's
Tyler?
a good thing. Oh, yeah. Just to go off of what you said for just a second. That's the good thing about a writing group is that you have people who will, I think I've said this to you guys before, like sometimes I go between like major imposter syndrome when it comes to my writing. And then I feel like I'm better than everyone else. And being with you guys has helped me realize I'm in a slightly more healthy spot than either ends of the spectrum. So that's really good. So I was an English teacher for a couple of years at a middle school. I still teach a creative writing class online. For my writing career, I literally just finished my book today, which was really exciting.
So awesome.
I unpublished still. I'm gonna do some editing and maybe send it off to an editor and then agent and all that. I'm going to try to go the traditional route first before I go self-publishing. But I'm honestly okay with either. I love writing. I want to know what happens in my second book now that I finished my first book and I'm writing a trilogy. So yeah, good stuff.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Okay. Who are we ripping into first today?
I know I was first last time because I couldn't talk.
Right.
So I think we ended with. Did we end with Adam last time? So we can start with him this time.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sounds good.
All
Good
right.
stuff.
There we go.
Cue Adam cutting in to give us the context.
Hey guys, future Adam here, or as I should have referred to myself, Gray Alder. Yes, I do have a pretentious pen name, which I forgot to use during the first episode of this podcast. And if you ever decide to adopt a pen name, I sincerely hope that you also experience just such an identity crisis, introducing yourself at the grocery store as Strife Finkelbean, or maybe just trying to use that name on your next tax return. All right, on to the recap. The piece that I've submitted for the guys to review this week is actually part of a full-length work-in-progress novel that they've been reading for a few weeks now. The working title is Rote Memory. It's a noble dark fantasy series set in the grounded, dangerous world of the Arius Forest, a place where the season is always autumn and there are threats around every corner. Up to this point, I've introduced my fellow writer groupmates to the main protagonist, a 20-something-year-old memory mage by the name of Stills, whose past is as mysterious as a scar running down his left cheek, or the tinted bifocals he uses to hide it from view. Stills returns one night to a safe house within the slums of the capital city, Demetersbrow. There, within the safe house, he easily subdues a British new guard via the use of a psychic ability called the Chain. Then he meets with his own master, a man by the name of Atrium Kent, within the confines of an old iron-lined walk-in freezer. Atrium, an imposing figure, demonstrates his vast knowledge of memory magic by revealing that both himself and the prisoner who still sees bound in the room with them are really just illusions. Atrium is projecting them from a distance, using another thug in the building, Birch, as a sort of disposable antenna or node within this psychic chain. From there, Still's master assigns him a new mission: to leave the city for the first time, traveling along the road leading to the Arius Forest. Along the way, he will essentially download a new persona while still keeping Stills partitioned in the back of his mind for later use. Stills resents Atrium's invasive mind reading, but does remain loyal for the moment, so that he can learn enough to overthrow his master later. Meanwhile, back at the safe house, Atrium, the memory master, possesses the same thug, Birch, in order to use as a puppet in his negotiations with 5 chaplains and their informant who have just showed up. Chaplains are a sort of paladin in this world, if you will. They negotiate over a mysterious stone that they've used to forge a rare alliance between them. However, the chaplains claim that, contrary to their previous arrangements, the stone was sent ahead to their compound within the forest as a precaution. Suspicion erupts when their informants, revealed as yet another puppet for some other mysterious puppet master other than Atrium, detonates a Mythier grenade in a blinding explosion. If you don't know what that is, don't worry. Outside the walls, Stills bribes guards, stops an assault, and steps out into the dark road leading to the Arius Forest. As a new persona begins overriding his current self, Stills begins to fade as a new personality takes over, ready to carry out his next mission.
I know we're going to. JC, do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'll start it out.
Cool.
So, simply because of the nature of the story you're telling, at first I was like, who is this? Are we at another character? But then I was like, oh, wait, no. I picked up where we're at. So that's, like, I don't think that's going to be an issue, like, reader-wise, because we're reading this in chunks. We're not reading this continuous. And that's something that I'm trying to take more into account as I'm reading these. So to go from where we were to where we are, I think you're fine doing it this way. Let's see here. Overall, I liked the scene. I liked the back and forth between I'm probably still going to refer to him as Stills, but Nian.
How do you say that?
Nin. Okay. Between him and Atrium, the question I had, and there it is, because we're hearing Atrium's voice, but we're not hearing emotion. Like I want to know how much this fragment is able to emote, to think, to be. And if you want that to be a question, that's fine. But you're used to when you're doing dialogue, there's angry or there's emotion, that's attached to the dialogue. And so I just wondering if you're leaving it deliberately vague or not. If it's supposed to be, that's great. That's fine. It works. I like the above that you have the inkworm induced ground quake as a good world building point. It's like, okay, well, there's something that's big enough when it moves, it causes an earthquake. So you had really good world building there. There was a couple of places. I have one sentence marked. You can see it when you get to the comments. It felt a little incomplete. Let's see here. Oh, the fact that you gave your currency a unique name. I love that, because so often people will kind of skip on that and they'll just go with crowns because that's what everybody calls money in fantasy settings for whatever reason. And you gave an original name, and I love that because that's more world building. The one critique is you have the bodyguard says the nice stores. It's not that nice is necessarily an anachronism, but it just didn't feel like it was the right word for him to use as a bodyguard. Let's see here. You give us insight into the magic system, and you let us know that still, despite the fact that he's got a new personality, Nin is still a killer. And I mean, it fits the assassin persona really well. He's a different person, but he's the same person, so you're going to be able to keep your continuity going with that. Let's see, I didn't really have... Honestly, this ending section, I didn't really have a lot. It flowed really well. You're setting up the whole idea. You're kind of playing into, like we talked about originally, with that master apprentice Sith-esque dynamic that's going on between Atrium and Stills, or Nin now. And it really feels like it's, again, not an identical match. I'm not saying you're ripping it off, but it has that feel of eventually the apprentice challenges the master in their system. And I like it because you're giving it life, you're giving it reason, you're giving it a motivation for Nin to actually challenge Atrium versus not making it feel like it comes out of nowhere. You're setting something up there, and that last section really, really works to set it up. And I love the last line, but then people are always giving stupid names to things. That was like that. I love that as a line for that character. It fit really, really well. Overall, you said this is tied to the first short piece that you had us read. It's in the same world, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And is this forest that was in that? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. I thought so. I love that. That is because that was a really interesting world, a really interesting concept, and for you to touch on it on this and maybe bringing it in, great. I love it. So, yeah. Critique wise, it's pushing the story forward. It's doing really well. Yeah, you can tighten some things up here and there, but I'm not your editor. I'm your buddy in writers group. You're staying consistent within the story and within the character. Like I said, he's a new personality, but he's the same character, and that's important. So that's all I've got. Tyler?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely really good. I love... This is kind of a personal thing of it. I love when a character can like step into a different personality. We see this like with Shallan and Brandon Sanderson's Storyline Archives.
I've not read it. Fun
Uh,
fact.
I know you haven't. I know you're getting there, Adam. young Padawan. But I really enjoy stuff like that. So having it, and I had kind of the same thing like JC, where like I was definitely confused, like who the heck is this guy? But then again, I don't think it is going to be an issue for an actual reader who's reading it straight through, because it was within first half a page I knew what was going on. Like I understand, like, oh yeah, this is Stills, this is what's going on. I think with this guy, if the personality is that of a soldier, I would maybe hint at that a little bit earlier on, because when it came up with the merchants, I was like, oh, okay. It didn't really maybe feel like a soldier as much as I know what a soldier feels like. But that's something that I kind of picked up on. I had questions about so Atrium is dead but not dead, and I was confused about whether if that was related to the explosion in the last section, but I thought that because he was not in his own body, so that wasn't super clear to me. You don't have to answer that right now, of course, if that's a spoiler or anything, but that just kind of made me like, oh, what happened there? Because time wise, I thought the two things were happening really closely together.
Yeah.
So whether or not that's related to the explosion, do you have anything you want to say about that, or should I?
I'll just say, suffice it to say, I was definitely trying to make that vague and hopefully have that as a question that I'm intentionally withholding.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that's a good question for sure. And yeah, I guess for the listener, sorry to break this up. We try not to spoil things for each other, but we're fine with spoiling things for you. Like we want to be reading these things for the first time, so we try to keep these questions, like Adam said, like keep things vague if they're meant to be vague. So, just a comment a little bit about kind of your style, and please don't take this personally, Adam. You use a lot of words. Sometimes you lose a lot of words when fewer could do this, and this maybe is a thing like an editor would say like JC would say, but I am an editor, so I'll say it. There was a specific part that really stuck out to me. It was near the end. The first reason for the cessation of movement was that ... and I was like, because Nin had paused, or Nian had paused, and you were explaining why he paused, and I think you honestly could have cut that part out and then left, and then just talked about what Nian was thinking about, and the reader will get that he paused because he's thinking about that. And then I do realize, like, later on you kind of do a same thing, like there was a second reason why he stopped, so I almost took back my comment, but
it's kind of jarring though initially.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just something that it did kind of kick me out a little bit. And there are other parts where it's like, oh, that's a really wordy way to say that. So something maybe just to think of. I know we're always giving each other things that we see each and every time. Like for me, it's the said and the action beats and stuff like that. But that's just something, maybe something to keep in mind. You don't feel like you have to talk. Don't feel like you have to talk super fancy. Because when you do that, like, cessation, it's not a bad word. Like it's one that's fine to use, but maybe it seems a little bit pretentious as a writer, and you don't want your reader to think you're pretentious, because then they'll drop your book.
Forbid.
I know, but it's just, there's a certain style that is a little bit more grating, and I don't want you to fall into that.
Yeah, no, I super appreciate that. I was wondering when we got to this part, because I sensed myself kind of drifting into that, because so much of my fiction diet before was reading dead authors from like the Victorian era. And sometimes this is how I just like talk. I'll like, why would you use 3 words instead of 1? Well, so yeah, I appreciate that. That'll help me kind of rein it in a bit, hopefully.
Yeah. I don't remember, maybe it was Mark Twain or somebody who said something similar to that, like, why use 2 words when you could use 1, or something like that. So that's just kind of the principle I try to live by, and stuff like that. I had, like, there were some other questions that kicked me out a little bit as well. I've left comments about them though, so I think I'll I'll leave those to you just to go into. Yeah, I really the confrontation with the merchant and his brick was really interesting. To know that people like spontaneously gain this power is a cool bit of world building. Like it's not something you just have to learn. It's something you can. It seems like it's something you kind of have inherently, and then you train, which is really cool. Like JC said, I like the whole Sith apprentice kind of vibe. I don't know if he's going to kill Atrium, but the fact that he's thought about how to kill is really cool. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying seeing where this character goes, and he does still feel connected to Stills, and I really like Stills. So even though it's a different personality, I still feel like the connection is there. So that's really good.
Sweet. You guys mind if I lob a couple of questions at you,
Yeah,
or do you have anything
please.
else? Tyler?
Go for it.
Yeah. So I was super. I want to say nervous, but just the fact that in the previous chapter you have one character who is now a different character, but the same, like the personality shift. I was like, okay, I got to really like make this smooth and like make this a question mark that I hopefully answer like soon enough to where it's mystery versus like confusion, outright confusion. I wasn't sure at what side I was erring on, if that would be tonal whiplash, if you're like, whoa, that he's way too different, or like, whoa, he's basically the same guy. Why'd you even need the personality shift dynamic? Like, did you guys feel like I was erring on either side of that line?
Trying to think back with the last scene, he was starting to shift and settle into this new personality. Like he gave the gate guards orders like a guard or like a soldier, like he's supposed to be. And he starts settling in a little bit. And I think the way you flip to it being from Stills to Nian, that for me, because especially because you have Atrium address him immediately and establish the master apprentice relationship almost immediately. I think you're okay.
Sweet.
Personally, Tyler.
Yeah, I think you could even lean a little bit more into it. You might think about maybe when you go back and you're revising or something, giving Stills like maybe you did this and I just don't remember, giving him like a physical tick or something that he does, and then giving Nian a different one.
Yeah.
I think even that little unconsequential thing that wouldn't really tell you too much about a character, but because it would be different, I think that would speak volumes for these are different, these are basically different people. I mean, they're not really different people, but different personality, different thing going on.
Cool. All right, I appreciate that. Let's see. Another thing I was kind of wondering is, are there too many throwaway characters? Are there just too many bodies left in this dude's wake? Like, are you wondering when we're going to get to the actual cast? Okay, good.
No, I think nah. Like, he comes across as somebody who kills, and that's part of what he does. His job is to kill. He's an assassin. But he doesn't, I don't feel like he kills unnecessarily. Like, it could have been easy for him to have offed the two gate guards as he was coming through, because they were going to stop him, they were going to question him, they weren't going to open the gate. Instead, he gave them orders, and they obeyed because he had the badge. They responded. I don't think that's his default, because he tried to negotiate with the merchant in the brick first.
And he tried to trick the merchant. Like, that was part of his...
Yeah. So it seems like a last resort, not one that he's afraid of using, but it's not like, you bothered me, I'm going to kill you now. So
yeah, okay. I agree with that.
Cool. And then maybe as a final question, JC, you mentioned the forest, how he's kind of like approaching. I feel like I have a very linear, like literal path that he's walking, and I'm like wondering if that's too straightforward, but I'm trying to build a sense of apprehension as he kind of like gets closer to the forest, out of civilization, out of his comfort element, which is like kind of like the slums in this world. I don't know. Do you feel like that kind of tension wrapping ramping up a little bit. I know it's kind of hard week to week having skipped to this chapter, but
I would say, since you get caught in his head toward the end a lot, and you give a little bit of the surroundings, like you mentioned the shadow that he just sort of brushes off, maybe a little bit more of that, the rustling in the trees, things moving in the underbrush. A good example of how to build that tension, I would say, is go back and read the end of the Eye of the World when they're going into the Blasted Lands and into the Blight. Like, that is a master class in using terrain to set up tension. Because we don't see I don't think we even see 3/4 of the nightmare that he is trying to convey, but it's all in our heads because of what he does put out there. So I think that would be a great place to study, to try to, because if you're really trying to build it, because I know what kind of forest that is, because I've read your other short story, but if you're trying to build that place up like that, you're going to need to add some more environmental into it.
Cool. All right, sweet. I will definitely take a look at that.
All right.
All right.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah. Pretty much all the questions that I had for you guys.
All right,
Okay.
Tyler, you got any final thoughts?
Nope. You kind of took what I was going to say about the forest, about putting in more setting details. That's something I really struggle with. So I try to focus on it, so it actually ends up in that book.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got that problem myself. So
good deal.
All
So
right.
we decided that JC was going to go last.
Sure.
So cue future me giving context.
What's up, guys? This is future Tyler, recording this about 2 weeks after we recorded that first episode. Wanted to give you a little bit of context. I'm out here doing my farm chores. Got my dog drinking over here, showing him for the views. So I'm writing a contemporary fantasy working title, Hounds of Brecon, which I didn't know at the time of recording that first episode. It's mostly set in this little town in Maine, where there's been hints and pieces of monsters and magic and mayhem, but nothing is really known at this point, so I'm not going to spoil it too badly. My main character, his name is Warren. Just to describe a little bit of how I introduced him, it was at a fight club in Chicago where he grew up before he moved to Brecon. And he broke a guy's arm after he tapped. If you're familiar with any kind of fighting, you know that tapping means that the fight should be done, and he kept going. So I'm pinning him as a bit of a jerk. He's my reluctant hero. Hope you guys really like him. In this episode, you also will meet Principal Starnes and Sheriff Bradley, who are kind of the major players in Brecon, this little town in Maine. And they're just kind of having their little chess match. They're sparring a little bit. Again, more hints about things that are going on, but not a lot is known at this point. Hopefully this helped you know what's going on as these guys are ripping into me. And thanks for listening to the show. Bye.
And go for it.
I hope we leave that in.
I don't know why I would take it out.
You want to kick us off, Adam?
Yeah. Okay, so Tyler, I might want to. Do you have tissues nearby? No.
Oh man.
No. This was. I'll just kind of summarize to begin with. I would say this is another really solid piece. I feel like this is another section of small bridges built between the major tension points of the book, which is great. I feel like that's what you need. Tension is definitely ramping up here. So you have two small chunks, small chapters or POVs. One from Starnes' perspective as he interacts with what essentially seems to be kind of the bad guy, or as close as a mastermind as we have at this point, in the form of Bradley the sheriff. Yeah. And on the flip side, we also have a POV with your core cast as they're kind of getting together, trying to convince your protagonist, Warren, like, hey, get back in the fight, become interested in this again. And as he's trying to kind of walk the straight and narrow, I mean, he's already, I feel like, walked through that door of no return, but now he's trying to back out, and this is them trying to yank him back into the conflict. So I
Mhm.
like the fact that that's these two POVs kind of mirror and rhyme with each other in that sense. Um, I don't feel like there's anything, like it was a very short POV in the chapel with Starnes, which is probably exactly what it needs to be to just kind of build that uh, that taste, sense of apprehension for what this guy is going to do. Like, okay, some kind of threats at work here in the shadows. Um, I had a few questions just about what the chapel looked like without you, like,
Mm.
jumping into a huge scene description. Maybe just another line or two, just because to different folks that's going to mean different things. You do mention I think the dark oak paneling in the darkly vanished oak pews in the very first paragraph, which is great. But I was just wondering, like, at first, are there people within earshot? Are they whispering? The people who are around them, are they like dressed in their Sunday best, or is this like a "come as you are, brave" kind of church? Like, just to kind of build up the feel of the town. This is one more chance that you get to kind of do that, and you do in a couple of paragraphs when you have some of the old gossips or old harpies, however you put it, kind of watch this scene play out, and they watch Starnes after Bradley has exited the town gossips. And you described their faces as perny, which I love because that was such a great, striking visual. Let's see. Actually, just kind of on that note, I noticed you have a lot. So, okay, beginning with the perny faces turning towards Starnes, that's a visual detail. And right as we jump into Warren's POV, that first paragraph there, Warren's thumb-length knife bit easily into the stick of rowan wood. That felt like a nice tactile description. Like I could feel that just because of that word bite or bit. And then not too much further down, you have a paragraph in which you specify Layla's bright voice was accompanied by the squeak of Luke's running shoes on linoleum. And this is giving us some sort of insight into what Warren can hear from the other room and cueing in the entrance of the other characters. And right there, you have a nice audio, description. And all these are just kind of sprinkled in nice little ways, not too much. But I thought that was funny. You kind of had this ABC thing going on with the five senses, which is great. Nobody's tasting anybody, but other than that, maybe
Not
it'll
yet.
happen
Not
later.
yet.
I mean, Warren
Yeah.
was pretty into what Layla was wearing, so
Oh, that's definitely true.
which is also nice. Yeah, so I think overall, just a nice another solid section. I won't say this is like the most amazing part of the book. I think this is like the necessary part of the book, the breathing room as we kind of see if the characters are going to continue the fight and what form that's going to take. So well done.
Yeah, appreciate that. I
What
hope
you got?
the senses aren't on like a strict rotation in my story. I'm not that mathematical about it. I just like, oh,
There's a formula.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna echo overall. Yeah, this is a bridge point. It's necessary. It's written well, and because it's necessary, like it needs that attention to detail. It needs that extra level of importance because this is the part where people will tune out because it's not action, and you're gonna keep them engaged because we get Bradley again, who I don't like.
Mhm.
You're making sure he's staying unlikable. And you get Starnes, and I like that Starnes isn't backing down to Bradley.
Mhm.
Like he has a backbone, and he is a player in the game. I like the chess metaphor. He's not just going to let Bradley do whatever, even though Bradley's accusing him of bad things. If it happens, it's your fault. Starnes isn't going to just stand idly by. I will echo Adam. Very first comment I made, just like one or two more lines about the inside of the church, because I've been in several churches, even in the same faith, they're all slightly different.
Yeah.
So just that, like 2 lines, and it'll be great. Yeah, don't like Bradley, like I said. You tie into the mystery really well. With their conversation, like it still drives home the point that there are weird things going on. Some people are more aware than others, so the mystery stays. I like the scenes with Warren. He stays Warren through the scene. I like that you put in this idea that he appreciates the craft of what he's doing. He wishes he could add more to it. Like you're giving him another layer as a character. He's not just this city kid who's good at fighting. There's another layer to him. You know, he's a woodworker. Great humanizing detail. Helps us know that, okay, there's more to this kid than what we've seen so far.
Just a punchy kicky part.
Yeah. Nan is definitely 100% Gandalf, because she wanders around in the woods by herself and nobody is worried.
Just the D&D player that goes missing from a campaign for like
yes. Yes. And I like that you're keeping, like, you've emphasized now that when he gets home, he does his homework. He wants to do what his mom says. He stays in shape. He works hard. And as he's making these beads, even though it's sort of this mind-numbing repetitive process, he's doing it quickly and he's doing it well, because it's something he takes pride in, and that fits with him as a character. That even though it's this mundane task, he still wants to do it well, and he's still going to do it to the best of his ability. I like that as a detail for him. Again, my same point that I talked, a little bit more action in the dialogue.
Yeah.
But I had to add the comment in where he talks about that he knows they don't hang out in the library, even though it's a small town. Yeah, somebody from a small town, nothing to do. They still wouldn't go to the library. Just nope. That's not a location that they would go. You add in that he picks up on Layla's vocal quirk, the well. I like that you give him that level of like people reading. As a kid who grew up in the big city, he would have to have gotten good at that kind of stuff. And his what feels like a throwaway line, how, you know, Fae don't show up in photographs, and he says convenient, kind of like I thought to myself as when I read that, I was like, you know, kind of like the blurry photographs of Bigfoot. So the question becomes, so I was wondering to myself, do you want Warren to still come across as skeptical? Is that what you're going for, or is he just trying to push her off? That's the one question I had right there. And I don't know if you necessarily need to do anything with it, but that line, it strikes that, is he still skeptical despite everything he's seen so far? So it's
a good question.
Or is that himself trying to convince himself to be skeptical so he doesn't get involved? That's where I was on that. I like how you use the word the hounds. It fits with the wild hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
I'll tell you, after this week, I feel like I've written hounds like 300 times. I might have overused it.
I bet. But it's hard when you give something a title that you're like, I have to call it the thing so they know it's the thing. But man, it feels like I've written that 1,000 times on this page. So there's one I would say one action point that I think needs to happen, because it feels like it's what Warren would do. When Luke and Layla walk past and they're leaving, and then Warren says, "You're going into the woods now," I feel like he would put a hand on Luke, grab his arm, something to physically stop him and say, "What the heck are you doing?" Because he knows that Luke likes Layla. So to his mind, as somebody else who likes her, why is he not being the protector? Why is he not stopping this? And to me, it feels like Warren would put that physical barrier in there and say, I'm stopping you. Why aren't you stopping her?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really good, actually.
And then I like Luke's line. Like, it doesn't feel like Luke, but at the same time, the way you did it, it does feel like Luke, where he says you can't control people to keep them safe. Like the Luke we've sort of read up to this point, maybe not, but then he finally met his gaze, and for once there was no animosity. He just seemed tired. You you've changed him just enough that line makes sense in this moment. And then I'm curious to see what Nan's going to do when she gets back. But like you said, like you said, the next scene is longer, so I'm excited to read. Again, echoing Adam, this is a great stitching scene that goes action point. We've got to bridge the gap between the two. It does a really good job because it slows down without slowing down the narrative.
Yeah. Good. With the bridge stitching scenes like you guys are talking about, I definitely think that latest scene with the Scooby Gang and Warren is super necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of put in the scene with Starnes and Bradley just to kind of make sure, like, hey, like kind of like you said, JC, like there is stuff happening in the background. Starnes is doing something. He's not just sitting in his office and doing anything. Bradley's doing stuff. I guess you guys are kind of right. Does it feels necessary? Like it feels like not just like an extraneous.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all. It feels necessary because the bad guys are making chess moves and the good guys are, just bumbling through making chess moves as best they can.
Yeah.
And
basically.
it seems like the bad guys are much more well equipped to do so. They already have pawns on the board, so you're like, okay, this creates a sense of tension, like something's going to happen, expectation.
Yeah.
And then JC, you touched on this with Luke saying that sometimes I give my characters like the theme in a nutshell, or a theme, like a mini theme in a nutshell. And sometimes I'm worrying that I'm being a little bit too didactic with it. Like Starnes has had a bit like, oh, the ends do not justify the means in the previous scene. And now this one, and it does happen. I think it happens at least one more time. Good or bad?
Honestly, from Starnes, it felt like that's something he would absolutely say. One of the pieces of advice I picked up a long time ago watching a James Patterson class was, when you're writing dialogue for books, you don't write they don't talk like you actually talk. And so when you're writing for the story, you're writing to the story. And so, and I said, like with Luke, like just isolated, that line doesn't make sense from Luke. Like if you had thrown that line in one of the first scenes we had with him, that wouldn't have made sense at all. But stuff has happened, and now he is a slightly different character, and his motivations have shifted, and it made sense. And it doesn't have that same feel as, with great power comes great responsibility. You expect that line. It doesn't have that level of feel. It has a level of a lesson that he's trying to learn himself also.
Does it feel like, and sorry, Adam, I want to hear your thoughts as well, but does it feel like Luke is changing, or does it feel like we're just seeing more of Luke's character? I mean, both of those are kind of changes, but one is more.
Yeah, I would say we're just seeing a little bit more of him. Like prior to this, we were sort of seeing the hormonal teenager. And as the situation's gotten more serious and more personal, we're seeing another side of him as a person.
Yeah.
Personally. Adam, what do you think?
With regard to Luke's growth, or with regard to that line from Starnes?
I want to hear it all from you, Adam.
Yeah, I disagree with JC a little bit. It didn't necessarily rub me the wrong way on the first read through, but now that you bring up the ends justify the means line, it does feel a little bit on the nose, even for this readership. And you can easily replace that if you feel so inclined with something like okay, another dead kid to save the world. Is that it? Like whatever that calculus looks like. He'd be pretty well equipped knowing Bradley's types of games that he's willing to play and the collateral he's willing to put down. Maybe specify or hint at what that is. I feel like it's raising the stakes.
That's a good freaking line.
Yeah,
Another kid to save the
That is a
world.
good line.
is that
is a good line.
an Adam original, or are you getting that from somewhere?
All I need is credit in your book now. And then with the Luke question, I actually thought it was funny. I don't know. I feel like Luke and Warren, like Luke was standing up to Warren. Like I think it was a character growth that we were seeing on display. It wasn't just the hormonal thing, like JC said. He's willing to stand up to him. He's not able to do so physically. He's not able to rise to the same amount of logic as AJ. But like, darn it, he's stubborn, so he's going to try. You know, like, I feel like they're both trying to kind of emotionally manipulate each other. Which, like, okay, good friends emotionally manipulate each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call them good friends at this point. But yeah, I get what you're saying. And I hope Luke isn't coming across as just like the stereotypical redhead. Like, I do want him to have a character. I know you guys have said, or at least you have said, Adam, you don't really want to see a POV from Luke, but I do hope he feels like a person.
I will say yes, for me. Again, we are getting him from outside perspectives, but that outside perspective shifts. Like, AJ, he's my friend. I've known him for a long time. He's Luke. That's just the kind of person he is. From Warren, we get the perspective of, yeah, he's a little spineless is how Warren views him. He's not willing to step up. And now we're seeing him outside, like I said, like outside of the realm of the friend group and more in a serious situation. We get to see that he can react beyond just
Screw
what
you.
we've seen. Yeah. Just beyond that the punk kid that kind of we first seemed to meet. And I think he's developed a level of grudging respect from Warren after watching the fight and realizing that there's more to him, Luke realizing there's more to Warren than just the new guy, and accepting the fact that, yeah, Warren has capabilities that I don't have. I'm not going to be able to face him like in a stand-up fight. But at the same time, I can tell him what I think, and he does. I mean, it's hard to do that when you know that the person you're telling it to might get mad and it could probably knock you out. So it does show that he's got a backbone. So that's my view. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I agree. I don't feel like, okay, so Luke definitely is experiencing character growth, and I don't think that needs to be too dramatic or pronounced. It can happen little by little. You know, he's not the main character. I know we talked about like Layla not having too much of a personality yet. I don't think that's entirely true. I think we gave you a hard time, but like, I think these things happening little by little is just fine. You know, like this is when the plot calls for him, and this is when he would naturally, I think, feel the need to step up a little bit, and that's exactly what he's doing. And you know, it makes you bond with him a little bit more. He's not just the punk kid, or at least he's trying not to just be that. You know. Yeah. Good stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Should we do a
My
word from our sponsor?
turn.
Brought to you by Dr. Shasta.
That's such a pathetic laugh. Oh.
Oh man. Hopefully someday. That'd be cool.
That'd be great. Are you kidding me?
If you're
I
listening to
can think of
this and you
several
have
I'd love to
something
get
to
sponsored by.
heck yeah. That'd be sweet. Well, shall we cue future JC to give us his context?
Hey, this is JC here, or future JC as we refer to ourselves. Just a brief introduction to the pieces or the sections that Gray and Tyler are critiquing. They are from my novel Technomancer, which is the second book in the Collinsworth Case File series. It is a spin-off series to my Hero Unit series. The two main characters are Jessica Collinsworth and Eve Brown. They are classified or known as exceptionals, sort of my in-universe version of superheroes. Eve is a little special in that she is the first self-aware artificial intelligence inhabiting a techno-organic body, is the best way I can describe it. So that is a little bit of background. Jessica and Eve are both private eyes. They get cases that people don't want to take to the police and try to solve them. A little bit slower paced than the Hero Unit main series, if you're familiar with that. That, I think, is everything. I don't remember the exact sections this is for, so that's what's going on in these critiques.
And then, oh, I guess it's actually kind of our turn, isn't it? So JC, you don't need to say anything because your future self will say stuff. I guess I'll go first because Adam, I feel like you've gone.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
You've gone first. Initially, and this was just because I was reading it in chunks, I had to go back and be like, why are they at the law office? I was like, oh, okay, right. They have another client besides the billionaire future possible romantic lead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as always, like really loving the world building, really interested in how this world has changed, and I guess probably in your context, maybe you'll have told a little bit about why this world is different. I was interested in this non-abrasive quirk. That feels like such a strange thing to be like. It's kind of framed as a superpower, but I don't know if it really is.
Yeah.
Especially in like this Dickinson, this company CEO or whatever. Like, it felt weird that such a person would be in such a position, but I can definitely see places where that would happen. Just a world building question about truth sensors, talking about them being at the trial. And maybe you've probably already thought about this, but just something that I want to make sure that you have thought about. I feel like if there is a superpower where you can tell if somebody's telling the truth, every courtroom would be like required to have one. Because that just seems like something that, if that was the case in our world, like that would be a really good thing in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably they're just super rare and you can't. But then you mentioned like there's a couple detectives, and obviously like you can't, and that's a good place for a true sensor as well. And you can't force them to be in such a place, but yeah, I'm just assuming that. I just wanted to make sure you were thinking about that. But super cool. I got a little bit confused. So Eve, this was just on Wednesday, just at the start of that section. Eve was like doing her AI stuff and watching things, but then it said if it wasn't for the shifting of the natural laws around her partner, and I don't know if I've just missed the context for that, like things are weird around here, or if that's something that's coming from the other books. That was just something that kind of kicked me. I was like, oh, what's that? So presumably you have an idea, but maybe just throw a line exactly, just a little bit about what kind of thing that looks like. Would be really good. Are ghosts real? It feels like more of a question in this world. Like I would think that a couple of PIs would automatically just like throw that suggestion out of the window in our world. But I could definitely see in this world with all the crazy stuff happening that it could be more of a question. So I don't know. I was interested in that.
I'm going to leave that one vague intentionally.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. It felt like it, and maybe this wasn't intentional or not, but it felt like it was another thing that was different about their world where, not that people don't believe in ghosts in our world, but I don't think that they would be considered in such a professional situation. So that was interesting. I really like that. Lots of good stuff. Didn't make comments for a while. Just into it. You keep saying that Eve you keep using like superlatives with her, like the single most sophisticated piece of technology, but then there's somebody who's getting past her, and that feels like, it doesn't feel like it's impossible, because obviously you can have super sophisticated things that are good at specific things, and then another sophisticated thing, even if it's less sophisticated, that is good at a specific thing to get past it. But it just, I might weaken is the wrong word, but I might not make that such a strong statement. Like, there are, you know what I mean? Like, there are things that can get past it, obviously. Very interested in how they're getting the notes to Darren. I'm still thinking it's somebody on the staff, but now I'm thinking that maybe there is just an invisible. Oh, there is an invisible dude that is discussed. So I'm interested in that, and the everything that's going on there. I like how you're setting up. Like, they're gonna fall in love. Like, Jessica and Darren, they're destined. I feel it. Like, you're not hiding that very well if you're trying to hide it.
No, I'm bad at that. So you might feel it's a too heavy-handed at times.
It might be a little bit.
They can't fall in love because that means he must be the bad guy and he's gonna betray her.
I mean, I still wouldn't be surprised if he was a bad guy, to be honest, but I do, like, it might be a little bit heavy-handed, which is, I mean, it's fine.
Right.
And then, yeah, there's some other questions that some things that didn't seem to fit super well. I loved that they get, when the kids are growing up, the exceptional kids, they get a supplemental check to pay for Mo food. That's a cool little thing about the world. I wish that was a thing for growing boys who are going to be plus 6 feet like all of us are. But
it's a requirement for this writing group.
Yes.
Or there's no women here yet.
If we do get more people, it's a good thing we meet virtually, because anyone new would feel dwarfed by us. But yeah, really enjoyed it as always. I love seeing how this world is different, and I'm making all the guesses about what's going to happen, and that's super fun about this genre. So well done.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
cool. JC, I'll just kick off my little stint here with a question. Did you write this when you were on your caffeine-induced high of like writing 8,000 stinking words a day?
He was telling me he wrote 26,000 words this week.
That's nuts. That should be illegal. Like, answer the question. I need to know.
This would have been before that, because he gave this to us a couple weeks ago.
Okay, okay, yeah.
I'm sure we'll be able to tell when we get to that mannequin dude.
You absolutely will.
Okay, because I was like, man, there's no way he can sprint and maintain this level of quality. Like, that's just not. All that to say, I will say that this chapter here was probably the most engaged that I felt the whole time. Like, again, I think I said something similar last time, so I don't know if it's just that I'm settling into the narrative. But I really do think that this section's pretty good. I think I like the fact that, okay, I'll be honest, when they meet with the lawyers for a second, I was like, wait, are these Derek's lawyers? I had to step out for a second. And I think that's just the fact that we're not meeting week to week or reading one chapter after another, right? Because clearly different names, different cases, and the one dude's not married, the one dude is. Anyway, so I think that's kind of interesting that they do have cases going on the side. I honestly just picture this whole thing, the more I think about it, to be like a Netflix show. Because I'm picturing it, I'm like, oh, the budget wouldn't even have to be that high for a lot of this, because they take a lot of they do a lot of private investigator work just in their office and office buildings. I'm picturing how they can shoot it. Anyway, all that to the side. I think these little details about other cases kind of help flesh it out a bit. Little details that'll make it harder to adapt, like glowing hair, but nonetheless that work great for the page. Help me tune into it. Let's see. Just a little comment when they are in the lawyer's office. They're going over the footage of the guy's wife, Sandra Dickinson, sitting with the police detective, tearfully confessing that her husband had abused her. I feel like you could do a little bit more show don't tell with that, even if it's just a single line of dialogue to show how cringy, kind of like Amber Heardish she might be in the situation. Like, I feel like, because you do have some comedy in this chapter, and that would fit right with some of the rest of this. And actually, I'll just kind of mention it's interesting the tonal differences that we see, because in the first section of the chapter, it is almost a little bit humorous. At least I found it. I don't know if I was meant to, with how cringy the wife is claiming abuse and all that. I don't know what's going on with that, and then the middle chunk, you have this new section of the investigation into Derek's case, the main line, I think, that opens up, in which they both get news that a new note was passed on, and are also able to subsequently capture a single frame of video footage. So I got goosebumps a little bit during that scene. I feel like you really have the opportunity to like explicitly mention that there's dim lighting in that room when they're watching it, like Ghost Chasers kind of style, Paranormal Activity looking at footage. I was so wanting that. I was feeling it. And I was like, just crank up that knob a little bit more. Your mileage may vary with that. I did another kind of aspect of show versus tell. I feel like you could amp up a little bit, is the fact that we just kind of hear passively through dialogue, like, oh, they discovered another note on his person today. I was like, oh, I want that like phone call. I want wait, really? We've been monitoring him the whole time, like something like that to play out in real time. You don't have to, but it's kind of one of those like, oh, by the way, I escaped from Isengard. Nice to see you guys again. Like, I want to see that play out.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I was a little bit kicked out with the security cam footage. I think I could picture in my mind what's happening. It's almost like this, for lack of better terms, Techno Ghost is superimposed over Derek's person, and that's the only point at which he shows up. Like his silhouette is superimposed over Derek's. I don't know if that's what I was meant to take away from that, JC.
Yeah.
Okay. So perfect then. I was a little confused. I had to stop and think about it for a second, though, as to what was happening. And then going back to the tonal stuff, I like the fact that we get kind of this creepy section. They actively talk about ghosts, which just got me going. And then we flip over to the whole, it's kind of a romantic comedy. I mean, it's not a romantic comedy, but like there's a lot of quips being traded that were pretty funny. Also, I had a realization, you know how you start to picture characters looking like actors? I think I mentioned that for one of your characters, Tyler. I started picturing Eve, and I think I have been this whole time, looking like Lucy Liu. Is that accurate at all?
That's not what I was picturing.
I'd have to say no.
Okay.
Her mom is a main character in Hero Unit, the main series.
Right.
And so she is trying to
albino.
No, she's like 6 feet tall, brown hair, brown eye. Well, not brown eyes, but sort of your standard American brunette, I guess would be the best way of saying it. You know, not particularly any specific race, I guess. Sort of that mix we get here in the U.S. of lots.
Melting pot.
Yeah.
Maybe you probably mentioned that before in this book. It's just the whole week to week thing. You lose details along the way. So, all right, I will.
And she is like an adult, right?
Yeah. Yes. Like
she's a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
I know she's a 1-year-old, but she's.
Yes, she is. She looks like a. She looks like she's the same age as Eve or Jessica, which I figured out her birthday. They're about 24, 25-ish. I don't remember the exact age, but
dang, they're freaking successful for mid-20s.
That's one of the things that I haven't explicitly addressed, and I ran into it a little bit as a problem with this one. Exceptionals tend to go through like
The career
employment,
ladder.
like the career ladder faster, because they don't have to sleep. And so
I keep forgetting that.
yeah, so again, this is addressed in Hero Unit, the very first book. Like it's actually one of the worst pieces of writing is the very first like 2 pages. It's way too info dumpy, but I talk about how they don't do night shifts anymore, but exceptionals will stay up and study for literally a week straight, and they'll sleep
Nerd.
for 2 hours and be fine. So they'll like exceptionals can graduate from college after 2 years with a bachelor's degree simply because they have that extra layer of stamina that keeps them going. So it might feel weird, and I think I need to address it a little bit better. That Jessica at 24 is already a PI. She's already done a bunch of other things, whereas a normal 24-year-old not going to be that far along in the career path.
Yeah.
So I need to be more explicit about that. I just keep forgetting.
Especially because maybe I'm just remembering this wrong, but I feel like Jessica goes home in the evening, and then we see her again in the morning, and without remembering that they don't really have to sleep, I just assumed that she slept.
Yeah.
What was she
And
doing
that's
during
like,
that time?
like most of them do sleep, like
Mhm.
because the proportion exceptional to normal is so like it's a big gap. In the rest of the world, most exceptionals like they go to sleep and they sleep because that's what everybody else is doing
Gotcha.
most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something to
And
think about.
I don't have to wonder why the non-exceptionals hate the exceptionals.
Yes. No, I give plenty of reasons for that.
Man.
Oh man, not that we can relate to that, to
No.
envying productivity. Speaking of things that stood out a little bit, JC, I have to agree with Tyler regarding the truth sensor and how that would potentially shake up the criminal justice system. I feel like you could specifically address that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe how
Yeah.
rare they are, or just the fact that like, mankind doesn't change even if there are superpowers in the world. Maybe it's still ensconced in law, or maybe it's controversial for some reason because defense attorneys with, big lobbyists or something are able to mostly keep them out of the courtroom except in special cases. Like some.
Right.
It's another
Yeah,
chance to
and
build.
it's one of those things that I need to go back and I really need to read where I've referenced truth sensors in the previous books. Because this is like a spot where I can really explain it fairly well. Some of it has to do with the Fifth Amendment. No self-incrimination. And they tend to reserve truth sensors for specific kinds of trials, murder trials, rape, stuff like that, the major crimes. And there really aren't that many of them. Like in a city the size of New Davenport, which is millions of people, I think there's 4 that are actively people that I know of in the series.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just super rare. And it's I mean it's still a society where crime happens, and to demand that a truth sensor be in every single courtroom all the time for every trial would slow the justice system to almost non-existent, because they'd have to be constantly waiting.
Yep.
So, and I think I do need to more specifically address that.
So I'm
Especially
hearing that
because,
they're.
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Adam.
I'm hearing that they're really expensive. Potentially, that's one additional reason.
Yes, that would be another thing.
Yeah, definitely hit on the rarity, because right after that you talk about 2 detectives. I was like, oh, okay, well if there's a detective pair, it sounded like they're partners who are truth sensors. Like that made it feel like they were maybe not super rare. They just happened to be.
Yeah,
I think that's a natural position for them. Like I think a detective would be. Yeah, it'd be really useful to have that power.
Yeah,
but.
And there are a few times I address it more specifically because, again, one of the 2 detectives in question are main characters in the other series. So anytime they go into a question booth, they immediately have to address the fact this person is a truth sensor, so Your lawyer knows, you know. So anything you say, we will know whether you're telling the truth or not. So.
And you almost have to have another truth sensor to make sure that truth sensor isn't lying about what the truth is. So yeah, I could see that being really complicated. Being like Adam said, like that could be really controversial about having them in the courtroom.
Cool. I'll just I think close out my bit here by calling out a couple of kudos. There was some really funny stuff in here, JC. After Miss Wolf, the secretary, explicitly says, Darren expresses his affection in physical ways. And then she kind of clarifies, you can expect messages, gifts, and surprise visits. And Jessica's like, that's what she meant. Like,
ooh la la.
Yeah, like I picture her sighing in relief or something. That was funny. Another line on that same page, Jessica shrugged. I've resigned myself to fame. Like, poor introvert. Like,
yes.
Yeah, stuff like that. Oh, and I agree with Tyler about the supplemental check being a super interesting little detail that you sprinkled in there, which is great. Yeah, overall, really cool section. I feel like I'm excited to get to another action beat or something. I'm not sure kind of the pacing, how that's going to go forward, but this was a great little slow bit.
Yeah, I'm definitely itching for a bit of a fight scene. I know this is a little bit more of a mystery, but chase scene or something.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember what scene's next. It might be. I might have it a little too slow. I'll have to look at what's next. But yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, I know that there's some stuff I need to address going back. While I was writing this week, I was trying to add in like physical descriptors, and I went and looked at my notes and realized I had no idea what Darren looked like. Like I hadn't written down his hair color, his eye color, or anything, and I'm like, that's a problem. I'd never specifically addressed it, and it's one of my biggest flaws as a writer is I'm really bad at remembering to put in not a block of he is this tall and he weighs this much and he wears these, but just the little bits like Adam mentioned last week, just throwaway line of dialogue that let me know, oh, he's got green eyes, or oh, he's a blonde, or oh, she's this tall, or oh, she's this tall. So that's something I've been trying to pick up on. And will be, like I was telling Tyler, I usually, when I go through on my second edits, I usually add words. A lot of people talk about taking out. I usually am the one that has to put in, and it's usually descriptors.
Yeah.
So
for me, like physical description for characters is the least important part of their characterization. I had a picture in my mind about what Darren looked like. I think we got the fact that he's a billionaire, that he's fairly nice. So I don't know.
And so Adam, I was telling Tyler earlier that you guys had a question about some of the scenes, and the reason I was able to blow through 20,000 words this week is because I answered those questions in this section. I've got to go back and do some better foreshadowing, but because of this writing group, because of the feedback I've been getting from you guys, I was actually able to finish the book. So it's big kudos to you guys being able to give me the feedback that I need to finish it. And I've been working on Technomancer 3 years now, maybe 4.
Oh, wow. That's a breakthrough.
Yeah. So,
dear listener, writers groups are really good at helping you finish your books.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. I look at you guys and I'm like, so I spent my weekend chasing around a bunch of junior hires at church camp, but I'm like, I need to get back into this world. Like seeing what you guys, even just that daily word count, I was like, shoot, like this is spurring me forward. I really want to and need to get back into it. So just that, not even just accountability. I don't know what you call it. Sometimes it's just a good sense of jealousy or something. I don't know.
When I highlighted and I saw my word count was 8,900, I was like, They're gonna be pissed.
Yep. The one day I beat you this week, I was like, take that, JC, screw you.
I about died laughing when I saw that. I was down at the game shop getting ready to DM a game, and then I popped up, and I'm like, oh, that was funny. What was really funny is the game almost didn't happen. I almost didn't have enough players, so I was going to come home and have another hour and a half of writing to do.
You son of a gun.
I wish my brain worked that way.
Yes. Hey, go ahead, Tyler.
I had no chance of beating you most this week. I mean, I have my hour in the mornings, right? And I went a little bit over this week, but
yeah. No, and that's the big difference. I'm a stay-at-home dad. If my boys are at school, I can sit and write as long as I don't, I'm not sick. So, that's part of the reason why I have 8 published books.
Yeah, screw you, JC. Screw you.
Screw you in your free time. Yeah.
Oh, man.
No, it's it'll be good to get the rest of that out to you guys. Like I said, I finally finished it, and now I got to switch all my attention to my other one. So.
Yeah, my word count's going to go down because I'm going to spend the next week or so just getting rid. I turn on Grammarly. Like, I turn off Grammarly when I'm writing, and so whenever I turn it on, like I turned it on today to show my creative writing class. It was like 903.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm sure it's, and I don't know if it's actually getting everything. I think it might just be getting to like a certain level and then capping out.
Yeah,
so I got my work cut out for me, but
yeah, when I bought Pro Writing Aid and turned it on after I'd been using Grammarly for years, I switched over to Pro Writing Aid and turned it on, and I was like, "Oh, that's a lot. That hurts to look." It's just yeah. And on that with the grammar software, I really if you don't have it yet, Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid will really help you catch those spots where you're just being a little too wordy. Like,
what are you trying to
say? I'm saying if you're reading through it and you're stuck at a point where you're like, okay, is this too much? Is this not enough? You can actually generate reports that are saying maybe you can cut words down here and here. Like, on top, like, I'm always gonna, listeners, pay attention. I'm always gonna say get an editor. But
hire me.
Yeah, hire Adam or Tyler. You can always make
Adam
your life.
Too.
Yes, Adam too. You can always make your editor's life easier by having a solid piece of grammar software beyond just like Word. That's probably the biggest piece of advice I can give. The reason I use Pro Writing Aid is because they have a lifetime license you can buy, where you buy it once and you're done. So
yeah, subscriptions suck.
Yeah,
I'm so tired of subscription culture.
Yeah. No, a lot of mine are coming up due, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be terrible. Yeah. So
I've got a question for you guys, and then maybe we should close out the episode unless you guys have anything else you want to say. So all of us have in our different books, not necessarily the one you're working on right now, JC, but we have people who speak in a slightly more archaic way. I was thinking, I've got, you guys haven't encountered this in my book yet, but, and we've talked about how it's really a struggle to get that voice down right. What would you guys think about having like AI look at your document? And this is kind of a philosophical question for our listeners. Have an AI look at our manuscripts and point out all like the anachronisms, all the times where the archaic language doesn't feel as natural. How would you guys feel about that?
I think that would be interesting. That was one of the things I learned when I bought Pro Writing Aid, actually. They will pick up on like non-English standard spellings and like older dialect. And so to me, it was interesting that I was using a lot of non-American English spellings in my writing. For example, towards. How many of us use towards in our everyday language? In American English, the standard is toward without the S. And I was like, really? To me, it was interesting, and I think having something analyze, especially like iridescent for me. Adam, your book just in general has got the older feel to it because it is a fantasy setting. I think that would be an interesting to see, you know, where we're fitting in with our language, whether it's staying consistent or not.
Yeah. And this is something I find pretty interesting. I on a moral level, I have no problem like taking my manuscript and feeding it to Grok and say, help me. Because I'm using it like an analytical tool. It's an evolution of, you know, the spell checker and Grammarly in one sense. As far as, you know, analyzing the anachronisms that your characters use, because I'm sure like you guys have already pointed out in previous sessions, I'm kind of like mixing things, right? You have speech that I would use in my everyday life mixed with, you know, Tolkien-esque speech. You're like, what the heck is going on here? So I feel like having a range can be beneficial if one character is given to that sort of speech, as long as the other character isn't using like modern American slang, you know, and dropping F-bombs, you know, like instead of fantasy swears. Like it, I think there is a certain amount of range that's acceptable. You know, one character is a scholar. They're going to be a little bit more erudite, and one character is a street thug. And I'm still kind of finding the balance between that. That's one thing I think is interesting about Sanderson is that his verbiage tends to be a little bit more, it feels recent. It doesn't feel like he's trying to make it Tolkien-esque, and I don't have a problem with Tolkien or with him. Consistency is the interesting question, right? Like whether or not you can achieve that and balance a world in which some characters talk one way and another.
Yeah. That's always that. In a slightly lesser degree on my main series, you've got my two main characters, Ace and Angela. They're twin sisters. One's a fortress class, one's a mental class. Angela studies a lot. She has a wider vocabulary. So I deliberately have to make that shift if I switch POVs. I'm usually writing Ace's POV, but if I switch to Angela, I have to think about that. Is that a word that she would use, or is that a word that Ace would use? And so that making sure that your character or that your characters are different people and with different levels of speech, different levels of education, different levels of different types of grammar. It's a really good point because within a story you have characters with different levels of understanding and different experiences. So yeah, you make a good point with that.
What do you think, Tyler?
I think it's an interesting question. I definitely, you know, I think, you know, there was the temptation initially, was like, I don't know if I could write this guy's voice. I just have AI like, hey, take what I wrote here and make it more archaic, make it Shakespearean. And I really, that wasn't the question I asked you guys, but I definitely fall on the side of not doing that. But using AI as a tool for that, I think, you know, on one hand, there's going to be a new generation of writers who can't write because of AI, because they've relied so heavily on AI. But I think on the other side of that, there's going to be a generations of writers who've used AI to train themselves the writer, again, not using AI to do the writing, but because it's, you know, it's like having an editor. It's like having me over your shoulder every single day. Potentially, like, hey, does this guy's voice match his voice here? Does, you know, I think I'm falling on the side of that's okay.
Yeah. No,
it doesn't feel so much like cheating.
Yeah. I think I really view it as a tool that can be utilized appropriately by writers to make sure that they're writing well, not to have it write for them, but, you know, I mean, to make your editor's job a little bit easier.
Yeah.
You know, maybe instead of being able to pay for one revision, you can pay for two because they don't have to spend as much time on either one.
Yeah, it's one more filter that you can pass your work through potentially, you know.
Yep.
Like JC said, before you get to editors, your editor doesn't have to agonize quite so much, hopefully.
Yeah, and that's the big thing.
Yeah.
The one of the
Bedtime
classes
at
I
the
took
Bivey
at the
house.
bedtime. Night, bud. One of the classes I took was one of the editing classes with Brianna Call, and she talked about that, how the more you can do prior to submitting it to an editor, the more the editor's going to be able to do for you. And so if AI is that first editor, I don't. And again, we're probably gonna, if once we publish this, we're gonna get dragged in the comments. But to me, I don't view it as a net negative if it's just a tool to help you improve as a writer. It's no different than me giving my work to you guys and having you go over it. And the AI is going to make mistakes and make weird suggestions too. Not that you guys make weird suggestions.
Just like
That's me. I make the weird suggestions.
Yeah, AI definitely isn't going to replace actual human editors anytime soon. So
No.
I feel pretty secure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And the editor, for those listening, the editor is the one that said that. So
it is decided.
Awesome. Well, with that, I think unless you guys have anything else you wanna talk about, we could close this out. I think we should plug some things. Feels like a good thing to do with the podcast. JC, why don't you go first? Maybe
all right.
direct people to your
I've
books.
I've got my Hero Unit series. The 5th volume of that just came out in December. So if you're somebody who likes to get into a series that's got a few Hero Units at volume 5, like I said, and that's superhero procedural. I've got the Barrel Street Murder and a Plagued Soul. That's the Telvanna Mysteries. That's my fantasy series. So if fantasy is more your thing, those are out. All of them are available in print. All of them are available in ebook. You can get them at most ebook and off Amazon, or there's links on my website, jcbybee.com, where you can go and see the ones and get the ones you want.
Absolutely.
Sweet. I'll just use reverse psychology here and say, do not check out my Substack because it's a dumpster fire right now with like 1 or 2 shorts. But the plan, and maybe by the time this airs, is to have a few more shorts within the same world as the fantasy story that we've been savaging that I'm currently writing. So if you're interested in bad fiction set in a fantasy world, don't check that out.
It's definitely not bad fiction.
It's definitely not. No.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. For me, I guess I'd love to edit your book if you have a book. Find me on Facebook, I guess, would be the easiest way. Tyler Hess. Look for my face. I don't look too different in my photo. I am wearing a tie. Oh, by the way, I should show off my shirt for the podcast.
Very nice.
For listeners, I'm wearing a Grammar Police. Listeners, not viewers, I'm wearing a Grammar Police t-shirt. So it's very on brand for me.
Yes.
Well, thank you, our dear listener. We're going to name you. No, we're not going to name you. That'd be weird. Our dear listener, we will see you next week.
Yeah.
Oh, Carlos.
See you next week.
Goodbye, Carlos.